Hello everybody, how are we doing? I hope we've all had a wonderful start to the new year. Much prosperity awaits y'all. So guys, we are back today with another episode. I'm calling these episodes and we are back with another video from the Fat Electrician, and Nick is going to be regaling us about the story of the real life Captain America. Now this has been requested through Buy Me a Coffee, through JT. Thank you so much, my lovely. And JT, you say, I'd love to see your reaction to the real Captain America. Is it Audie Murphy? Right, okay. So I'm not even too clued up on my Marvel. I know Marvel superhero, Captain America. I don't know his origin story. I'm sorry, I know I suck. I think, was he more associated with World War One? Was he a World War One soldier, or maybe World War Two? I'm not sure, but that's where my mind's at the minute. I think it might be based on a historic figure around one of the world wars. Anyway, educate me. Let's have a look. Let's see. Fabulous, guys. Let's have a look. So guys, if you are enjoying these reactions, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Thank you so much, my lovelies. If you're interested, I have a Buy Me a Coffee account. That link is over here. And should you wish to help support this channel any further, I do have a Patreon account if you fancy checking that out. That link is in the description below.
I'm gonna be honest, I've avoided making this video for years because it's one of the biggest names in American military history, and I figured surely there's already a ton of videos on the guy, so I'm not sure I need to make another one. But then when I look on YouTube for the videos,
there's nothing.
There's only like a couple. Today we're talking about Audie Murphy, aka the real life Captain America. You know, Captain America, Steve Rogers, the Marvel superhero that was originally too small to serve in the United States Army until he was given a super serum and becoming the best soldier the US military had to offer.
Okay.
That is America's ass.
Audie Murphy is pretty much the exact same thing in real life, except there was no super serum. He was originally rejected by the Marine Corps and the paratroopers because he was only 5'4", 110 pounds. He would then eventually...
Oh, he's only a few inches taller than me. Oh, bless him. Okay. Do I need to watch the Marvel film anymore? I think I've got the plot line all summed up here. Is it a great film, guys? Let me know. I'll have to get onto it. Can't believe, I know I live under a rock. I can't believe I've not actually seen Captain America. Okay, so only 5'4", Audie Murphy was rejected from the Marines and the military. I mean, if that was your ambition to, you know, fight in the military, oh my gosh, it must be devastating. So there's no serum for him. So how did he become this legendary, muscular? He's very handsome. I'll say that. As soon as it showed the picture, ooh, he's quite handsome.
Actually find a regular Army recruiter that was willing to round him up, saying that he was 5'5", 112 pounds, the exact cutoff for the minimum height weight requirement to join the US military. Despite his small stature and lack of super serum, he would go on to become the most decorated soldier of World War II, credited with killing approximately 240 enemies. In the process, earning himself the Medal of Honor, the Distinguished Service Cross, 2 Silver Stars that he earned in the span of 3 days, 2 Bronze Stars with V device, 2 French Croix de Guerre, and the French Legion of Honor. He would then go on to become a national icon and Hollywood movie star, where he got to portray himself in his own movie about him, and Hollywood made him tone down the story because what he actually did seemed too unrealistic. He was the inspiration for one of the greatest Americans of all time, Master Sergeant Roy Benavidez, to join the Army. In the movie Fury, Brad Pitt, the main character, is based off of Lafayette War Daddy Poole, one of the greatest American tankers of all time, but the final battle scene is actually based on the exploits of Audie Murphy. And while Captain America, the comic book character, predates Audie Murphy's military career, when he was brought back and revived in the 1950s and 60s, it's very obvious that Audie Murphy was the framework that developed that character. If you're not picking up what I'm putting down, I'm trying to tell you that you already know about Audie Murphy, whether you realize it or not, but you're about to learn a lot more right after a word from our sponsor.
Right, okay. I had no idea there was a minimum height restriction in order to get into the Army. Is there still that restriction? Is that still there? Now? Is there like a health and safety element to it, or is it just plain not fair? I don't know anything about this. So guys, let me know in the comments if you could. Oh, there we go.
All right, our story begins on June 20th, 1925, when a young Audie Murphy is born in Hunt County, Texas, as the 7th of 12 kids. His family is so poor and his parents are cranking out kids so fast that when he's originally born, they don't even have a name for him, so they just named him after the neighbor that helped with the delivery. Audie spent his childhood growing up on a cotton farm where his parents were sharecroppers, meaning they just rented the land, they didn't actually own it. And they grew up extremely poor. What
I will say is I think that is a relatively common namesake, a naming thing, to name one of your children after, one of the people that is responsible for your birth, whether they assisted or whether they helped you get from A to B or whatever reason. I don't think that's totally uncommon. So is it fair to say that because they had so many kids, that's why they didn't name him, or they just decided, oh, we'll name him after them? Do you think, like me, I'm genetically short, I inherit it from short family, short parents. But is that the reason why Audrey was shorter than average? I'm going to say good things come in small packages. That I was always told that growing up. So yeah, is it that genetically, or is there anything?
Audie Murphy was in school, he ended up getting the nickname Little Britches because he would frequently outgrow his pants and they didn't really fit him. And like many other war heroes we've talked about, he became an excellent marksman at a really young age because he quite literally had to get food. He started off by killing rabbits by throwing rocks at them, then he graduated to a slingshot, and then he graduated to a .22 rifle. The first time he had ever went on a formal hunting trip with adults, the adults were like, oh, it's just, a little 7-year-old kid with his .22 rifle. Go ahead, kid, go up the hill and shoot at some birds, have fun. Audie Murphy goes up the hill out of the eyesight of the adults, and what they hear from the bottom of the hill sounds like a battle scene unfolding, and by the time they get to where Audie is, he is surrounded by dead doves and he has exceeded the state limit in a matter of minutes. Reflecting on his marksmanship abilities later in life, he simply said, if I missed, I didn't eat and I couldn't afford more bullets. By the time he was 13, he would drop out of school to work full-time to help out his family, which was a constant struggle because his dad was more or less an absent father that struggled with alcoholism. He would go on drinking benders and disappear for days on end.
Alcoholism, an absent father, but fathered 12 children. Oh my gosh. And so Audie is the 7th born, I think Nick said. So he's very much a middle child, just like virtually smack bang in the middle there. How old do you reckon he would have had to be to assume responsibility, taking care of the rest of his family, especially if you haven't got a father present? Did he have older brothers as well? Or I suppose older sisters would have had to chip in. But I imagine, given the time period, once they got married and had families of their own, I don't know what the age difference is between any of them. Still a big responsibility though, isn't it? And we hear this story quite often in this time era. It was kind of expected, wasn't it? Tough times, very, very tough to survive.
Time he was 15, his dad would walk out the door one day and never return, leaving his mother and 12 kids to fend for themselves. Reflecting on this later in life, Audie said, and I quote, every time my old man couldn't feed the kids he had, he got himself another one. I suppose I hated him because I hate anyone who quits. Audie Murphy, on the other hand, doesn't quit. He starts working full-time for other farmers, even going and living with them, working for $1 a day. He works at the gas station. He works at the grocery store. He tries to be a radio repair guy. He does anything and everything he can at 13, 14, and 15 years old, trying to make enough money to help support his family. And then at 15 years old, his mother gets sick and she passes away. Audie continues working his ass off, doing everything he can for his family. And then at 16 years old, the movie Sergeant York, based off of the World War I superhero Alvin York, comes out in theaters, and he falls in love with this movie. He watches it twice and he decides he wants to join the military too. So at the age of 16, he goes to the Marines. They reject him for being too small. He goes to the Army paratroopers. They reject him for being too small. He goes to the Navy. They reject him for being too small, but he just keeps trying. And eventually, right after his 17th birthday, his sister forges the paperwork giving him permission to go off and join the military, and they fudge his height, weight, and he ends up getting in. And by this point in time, a lot of his older siblings had moved on and started families of their own, and he was kind of the oldest sibling taking care of his 5 younger siblings, and he had no option at this point but to send them off to an orphanage. But unlike his father, he's gonna come back for him because Audie Murphy doesn't quit.
Oh, it's so unfair. unfair. Oh my gosh, that doesn't sound like that was an easy decision to make at that age as well. Awful. Babyface.
Audie Murphy goes off to training, is rapidly given the nickname Baby, Babyface, Shorty. Despite that, he crushes it, is absolutely the best shot around. While on leave one weekend, he goes out to a local carnival. They've got, you know, all the carnival games set up, and there's one of these tents that has a .22 rifle set up, and the challenge is to be able to shoot all the hearts off of a playing card, and it's the number 5.
What?
Audie Murphy walks up and from 30 yards away with the .22, puts a bullet dead center through every heart on the number 5 playing card.
This motherfucker don't miss.
No,
Right?
he's fucking good.
That motherfucker don't miss, man.
He's good.
In the heat of battle, he don't miss.
No.
The man running the booth then
That's
refuses to give
crazy.
Audie Murphy his grand prize of $25, which in 1942 is a ton of money. So Audie goes to his commanding officer, explains what happened. Commanding officer's pissed off, like, if my soldier's such a good shot, he won, then he won. That's all there is to it. So they go to the carnival, basically tell the carnival, like, hey, you're going to pay our soldier his grand prize, or we're going to make it so nobody from the military base can come to this carnival at all. So they reluctantly give him his money, but then they ban Audie from any shooting games, period. By late
What? That's absolutely ridiculous. Sore losers. Oh my. So unfair.
1942, he's sent to Camp Meade and then Camp Kilmer, and then by February of 1943, he boards a ship and is sent off to war. First place he winds up is in Lacarta, Italy, and while he's there, he wants to lead from the front. He wants to be in the action. He's leading a patrol, and they end up coming across 2 German forward observers. Audie ends up spotting them first because this is what he did growing up. He hunted squirrels and doves and all these other small animals. If there's a single leaf wrong on a tree or a bush, he sees it. If there's a twig that snaps off in the distance, he hears it. So they start making their way
Nice.
towards this German position. The Germans know they've been spotted, so they turn, they stand up, and they start running. Audie drops down to one knee and shoots both of them dead on the spot. These were the first men that Audie Murphy killed in combat, and he said he didn't feel pride or shame. He just felt a weary indifference. Quote,
Wow. A weary indifference. So, very indifferent. Just neither way. Would you say no remorse? They would have killed us if they had the chance. That's our job. He's not wrong, is he? To kill or be killed at this point.
they would have killed us if they had the chance. That's our job. A couple of days later, Audie Murphy's platoon is maneuvering, and they end up getting pinned down and ambushed by a German machine gun position, and they are just pinned down, and they're pinned down, and there's absolutely nothing they can do. Eventually, morale starts breaking down. You got to realize these guys are fresh off the boat. They just got into combat, and some of these guys are freaking out, thinking they're going to die. They're a bunch of kids. A couple of dudes are sobbing in the corner, and Audie Murphy's just like, fuck it, I don't quit. I guess I'm just going to don my plot armor and handle this shit myself. Audie Murphy gets up and rushes the machine gun position by himself, screaming at his men to follow as he breaks through the ambush and destroys the position. For this, he would get promoted to corporal, and reflecting on this later in life, he would say that retreating is the most dangerous maneuver possible. When you have no defenses, attack. That's called foreshadowing, just so we're on the same page. Shortly after this, he winds up getting malaria, gets hospitalized with a fever of 100.
Oh my gosh, just before we move on, I've never ever thought about retreat like that. I suppose if you're going to turn around, retreat, run away, you're turning your back, you're exposing yourself, you've got no defense. It's an interesting mentality to have. When you have no defense, the best thing to do is attack. His entire mentality towards like being indifferent, shooting those German soldiers there, I suppose if you've grown up knowing that you're going to become a good marksman, because if you miss, you can't afford the bullets and you won't eat, so that threat has driven him to become so skilled, so excellent at shooting. So I suppose it's kind of created this very black and white mentality that's no frills, no sugarcoating. This is what it is. I killed them because they would have killed me if given the chance. I'm not going to overthink it. I'm not going to think about the family they've got back home. I'm not going to think about that because this is what it is. Very, very interesting.
degrees. While he is in the hospital, his unit attacks and takes the city of Palermo. He recovers and rejoins his unit by September of 1943, just in time for Operation Avalanche, the invasion of Salerno. Fights through September, fights through October. In October, he ends up getting promoted to sergeant, both because he deserves it, but also because his unit is losing so many men. During the following months, Murphy volunteers to lead conversion and capture patrols, basically going out at night, sneaking around and capturing German soldiers, bringing them back so they can be interrogated for intel. And Audie Murphy excels at this. The men that went with him basically alluded to the fact that he had superhuman senses and could smell Germans in the dark from the type of tobacco they smoked. And by January of 1944, he ends up getting hospitalized with malaria again. While he's in the hospital, his unit makes an amphibious landing into Anzio, and they are basically deadlocked on the beachhead in a stalemate. Audie Murphy recovers, comes in with reinforcements because so many of his men have been killed, and he is immediately one of the most senior members in his platoon and is promoted to staff sergeant. So Audie Murphy is now the platoon sergeant. He is the highest ranking non-commissioned officer in charge of this platoon. More or less, he's running the show. During the Battle of Anzio, part of the line that Audie and his men are on get attacked by 20 German tanks. Audie sees them coming. He's inside of this cottage. He calls for artillery fire. The artillery ends up knocking out the lead tank and repelling the rest. That night, off in the distance, Audie can hear Germans working on this tank out in the darkness. So Audie leads a patrol out. And when I say leads, I don't mean he took some guys with him. I mean he grabbed some dudes and he would advance 50 yards and then wave his men to follow him after the fact. Literally leading from the front the entire way. He gets his men to about 100 yards from the tank, orders them to stay put as he advances by himself, gets within about 15 yards of the tank and has 2 Molotov cocktails with him, tries to throw them at the tank, but they fail to ignite it.
I think management should be more like this. So I like the kind of managers that very much live or rule, manage by the phrase, I wouldn't ask anyone to do anything that I'm not prepared to do myself. And that's very much the mentality here. He's leading, he's going forward 50 yards, and then, you know, his men are following him. He's throwing these Molotovs. I think we're dealing with a very, very evolved human being. Oh my gosh, his senses are unbelievably heightened, excellent. Good eyesight, or I say good, great eyesight, excellent eyesight, smell, to be able to smell the German officers because of the type of tobacco that they're smoking. It sounds absolutely unreal. Like, I think he might actually be the height of evolution of human beings. Oh my gosh.
I really thought that would work.
From here, he's like, okay, fuck it. Runs up to the tank, climbs on top. The hatch is open. There's presumably Germans inside working on it. Drops a grenade inside of it and then starts running back the other direction. Ooh. This obviously alerts the Germans in the area. They start firing towards Audie. His men 100 yards back start returning fire. He gets a safe distance away from the tank and then fires 6 rifle grenades into the treads, completely disabling it. Then, using a ditch for cover, he makes his way back to his men and they head back to their line. For this, Audie Murphy earns the Bronze Star with V device, his first major medal. Fast forward May 1944, he fights in the Second Battle of Cisterna, where he earns the Combat Infantry Badge. From there, his unit goes into Rome, and it's what you see in the movies. Everybody's celebrating, throwing flowers. You know, the soldiers are here to save us from the evil Nazis. You've all seen the movies. While most of the rest of the men are partying and celebrating and relaxing with the locals, taking some time off, Audie Murphy isn't. He knows if he's going to make it back home to take care of his siblings, he's got to make it through the war first. So he spends all of his free time practicing and getting better at becoming a forward observer, the skills necessary to call in accurate artillery fire.
Just to put into perspective, so Audie Murphy is surrounded by his fellow soldiers, his fellow officers, celebrating, joining in the festivities of something absolutely worth celebrating, you know, liberation from the Nazi forces. But instead of doing that, the only thing that Audie is thinking is about getting home and getting his siblings back. And this sounds like such a good, honest man, honestly, because morally, of course, he's obligated to his siblings, but legally, is he? I mean, as a young man going away fighting the war in Europe, would there have been an expectation that he might not have come home, or he may have stayed in Europe, he may have relocated. He might have started a family somewhere. You know, he's a young man. Did they think that he would come back for his siblings? Was that just something that they just thought, it may happen, it probably won't, you know. But that's all he's thinking the whole time.
After Rome, his unit is sent to Naples, where they stage and get ready to partake in Operation Dragoon, also referred to as the Forgotten D-Day. It is a massive amphibious landing into southern France. It was actually supposed to take place 2 months prior on D-Day, but due to supplies and resources, they weren't able to. So Murphy and his platoon make this amphibious landing. They press inland. They're coming through all these pine trees, and then they come to the tree line, and there's a vineyard with a big hill on the other side. As soon as they hit this vineyard, they start taking German machine gun fire from up on top of the hill. In his squad, Audie's got one guy dead, one guy wounded. Him and the rest of the squad are pinned down, and the rest of the platoon is back in the tree line. As soon as they hunker down, the German machine gun fire stops, and then as soon as they go to try to move, the Germans start shooting at him again. After about 20 minutes, Audie Murphy says fuck it and rushes the hill by himself. He said that because the Germans had the high ground and they were manning machine guns, they had to kind of look up so they could see downward where they were shooting, and every time he would see the white of their foreheads, that's what he would fire at. He wound up killing 2 Germans. During this
He knew that because he was looking for the white of their foreheads. It's a bit of a risky game. There's a few things that could have gone wrong there. What if those German officers, what if they had bangs? No. It's how heightened his senses are. It's absolutely crazy. So he's being able to see this from how far away do you reckon? He's quite a distance away.
Firefight, he runs out of carbine ammunition, so he runs back straight past his men to the wood line, grabs a light machine gun from one of the machine gunning crews, and brings it back to his previous position. From here, he gets in a machine gun fight, killing 2 more Germans and wounding a 3rd. Runs out of ammunition again. His men are providing covering fire. He runs back to the tree line, picks up a carbine and more ammunition, and goes back to his position, and this time his best friend Lottie Tipton goes with him. They advance up the hill bounding, so Lottie Tipton's providing covering fire while Audie Murphy moves forward. Audie Murphy gets a little bit ahead. He does covering fire for Lottie Tipton to advance, and they keep doing this all the way up the hill till they make it to one of the machine gun positions. They end up destroying it with grenades. After Lottie Tipton hits the machine gun position with a grenade, they end up raising a white flag and trying to surrender. At which point, Lottie Tipton stands up to accept their surrender and is immediately shot straight through the heart. They were lying. At this point, Audie said, a demon entered his body as he rushed the position, the remaining 40 yards by himself, completely cleared it, took the German machine gun that was still operable, and rushed 2 more German machine gun nests, hip firing, destroying both of them. After completely clearing the rest of the hill by himself, he goes back to Lottie Tipton's body and just holds him and bawls. And his men said it was the only time they'd ever seen him cry. For his actions on that day, he was credited with killing 6 Germans, wounding 2 others, and capturing 11 more, earning the Distinguished Service Cross, the 2nd highest medal beneath the Medal of Honor.
A very, very prestigious award, you know, an honor, but it must have felt a little bit hollow to Audie. You know, after just losing his best friend. Poor Audie. Rip and tear.
From here on out, Audie Murphy's absolutely pissed. He goes on a complete rampage. If he wasn't already the go-to problem solver for his unit, he was now. If they're pinned down by sniper fire, pinned down by machine gun fire, there's a fucking noise in the attic, you're scared of the dark, everybody calls Audie Murphy. He shows up and he handles the issue. During this time, he gets the Purple Heart for getting blown up by a mortar, but refuses to get medevaced. From here, his unit continues to advance into France through the Vosges Mountains, and they come across the Cléry Valley. The unit's options are pretty much climb a fucking mountain or go through the valley. Obviously, they're going through the valley. The Germans are set up in there with snipers and machine guns all over the fucking place, and every time they try to push forward into it, they end up getting repelled, and this goes on for days. So, unit's got a problem. Obviously, we're gonna call up Captain America with his plot armor. Audie Murphy volunteers to lead a recon squad out there to figure out what's going on. As him and his men are getting ready to step off, Colonel Pollock, the battalion commander, shows up. So, like, his boss's boss shows up trying to figure out what the holdup is, and he decides he's gonna go out with Audie Murphy. And this is on October October 2nd, 1944.
Oh,
So they go
wow.
out, they wind up stumbling across the German machine gun position, get ambushed, everybody hits the dirt, they're pinned down. Sure enough, Audie Murphy stands up, yells at everybody else to stay down. He's gonna handle this shit. Then, while the colonel, his boss's boss, is watching, he advances on the enemy machine gun position by himself while he's actively getting shot at, yet somehow not getting hit, I guess because he's a small target. Gets close enough to throw a grenade into the German machine gun position and
Just want to highlight it's one of the many benefits of being little.
before the grenade can detonate, he switches to his carbine and shoots two, then the grenade blows up. He then hits the position with two more grenades, killing a total of 4 Germans, injuring 3, and the 8th German takes off running, and Audie Murphy drops him. He then comes walking back to his men and Colonel Pollock, carrying the German machine gun with him, which is the most gangster shit I've ever heard in my entire life. He is then awarded the Silver Star. 3 days later, October 5th, 1944, they're still making their way through this valley. They get ambushed again by German machine gun fire.
Sorry to interrupt you, Nick. Oh my gosh, I can imagine that's like a scene from a film, isn't it? There's all the smoke and Audie appears. Audie, sorry, gosh, Audrey is a woman's name. Not Audrey. Audie appears with carrying this thing. Smoke vanishes and he just appears in the midst there. That is pretty gangster. Oh my gosh.
The radio guy right next to Audie Murphy gets struck and killed. Audie Murphy grabs the radio, hits the dirt, and starts low crawling towards the gunfire. He can't even see where it's coming from yet. He yells back to his men to dig in as he continues low crawling forward inch by inch. He eventually ends up spotting 2 German snipers, grabs his carbine, fires, takes out both of them. From here, he's got eyes on the German positions and then uses the radio to call in mortar fire on all these different positions for over an hour by himself. During that hour, he utilized the skills that he honed back in Rome to walk the mortar fire directly into the German positions, and if the Germans tried to retreat, Audie and the men to his rear would pick him off. By the time Audie had cleared all the positions with mortar fire, 15 Germans were dead and another 35 were wounded, and Audie Murphy would get his second Silver Star in the span of 3 days. Upon hearing about this,
wow.
presumably Colonel Pollock calls him into his office, his tent, whatever you want to call it, and is like, so you're going to go ahead and get promoted. You're going to get commissioned. You're going to be an officer now. And Audie Murphy actually rejects the commission to officer. Remember, he dropped out of school when he was 13 years old. He's not that great at reading and writing, and officers have a huge amount of responsibility in writing down and documenting the actions of their soldiers, and he doesn't feel like he's going to do a very good job at that. So he just politely declines. He's happy to keep doing exactly what he's doing. To which Colonel Pollock replies, no, you're fucking Captain America. You're going to be a commissioned officer so you can lead these men. I'll have somebody else do the paperwork for you. Don't worry about it. So now Audie Murphy is a lieutenant. October 26th, Audie Murphy leading from the front per usual. He ends up getting hit by enemy sniper fire. Somehow they found a hole in the plot armor and it strikes him directly in the ass. Audie Murphy falls to the ground. His helmet rolls off next to him and he doesn't really know what's going on yet. And then all of a sudden he's looking to see where that gunfire came from, doesn't even realize he's shot yet. And the helmet next to him gets shot by the enemy sniper. Audie Murphy sees the muzzle flash, returns fire, eliminates the enemy sniper. At this
It is like the stuff of like a film script, isn't it? Oh no, he was shot in the bum cheek. Oh my gosh, that must be so painful. One thing, it's like a repeating kind of theme with Audie's character is that he doesn't shy away from responsibility, does he? He takes on the responsibility of his siblings, the well-being of his younger siblings, of his men, of his fellow soldiers, and now he's higher up. He's been promoted. It speaks volumes about his character, doesn't it?
At this point, he realizes he's been shot. His men come running up, asking if he's okay, probably scared shitless, like, if Audie Murphy goes down, none of us stand a chance. To which Audie Murphy replies, I'll be damned, I've been shot right in the ass.
It was a bullet, wasn't it?
Yes, sir. Bit me directly in the buttocks.
The buttocks.
They said it was $1 million wound, but the Army must keep that money because I still ain't seen a nickel of that $1 million.
So Audie
I
Murphy
love
gets
that
taken to the
film.
aid station. He winds up getting gangrene in this gunshot wound. And gangrene is like dead necrotic tissue. The blood supply isn't there and the tissue just dies and gets rotten and infected. And
Yeah, but you can't. So like if you have gangrene in your toe or your fingers, you're probably gonna lose that, you know, unless you've got access to very good antibiotics, which I'm not too sure. Do they at this point? I don't know. if you have gangrene in your bum, you can't lose a bum cheek. They're quite attached, really. So what's going to happen with that wound?
Typically, if you get it on like a foot or an arm, they just have to
Right,
amputate
right,
it.
yes,
But because
that's what I was
this is an
thinking.
ass cheek and you can't really amputate an ass cheek, they just have to cut out the dead necrotic flesh and pump him full of penicillin and hope he's okay. He winds up in a French hospital. They end up cutting 5 pounds of flesh off of Audie Murphy while they're just pumping him full of penicillin.
He only weighs like 114 pounds, 110 pounds, was it? He's only little. He can't lose 5 more pounds of flesh. Oh.
Bear in mind, the dude's only 112 pounds, and that was
I keep spoiling it,
before he
sorry.
was running through the mountains in France, fighting in combat every day. So he's probably much less than that at this point. This guy doesn't have 5 pounds worth of ass to lose. That's like 5% of his body weight.
Ice cream.
Yes, Nick. Yes.
Regardless, he's in the hospital.
What I
He's
thought.
flirting with all the nurses. The nurses think that he's just this adorable baby-faced little cutie, and then
Again, I know I highlighted this earlier, but Audie is quite a handsome young man. Flirting away with the nurses.
all the other soldiers are telling the nurses like, ma'am, that's fucking Audie Murphy. That's like the deadliest soldier we have. And everybody's
make them
just
flirt more.
shocked that this baby-faced 19-year-old is like the biggest badass on the planet. He actually winds up proposing to one of the nurses at this point, and despite his charm and baby face and boyish good looks and his reputation of being a complete badass, she declines.
Is she playing hard to get?
So after 2 months of battling gangrene and flirting with nurses, Audie Murphy makes a
French
recovery, or at
nurse.
least enough of a recovery to demand to be sent back out with his men. He rejoins his men on January 14th, 1945, and his unit is going to be going into the Colmar Pocket, one of the last German strongholds on the French side of the Rhine. Intel says that there are 9 German divisions there, 50,000 men. On January 20th, his unit moves in. They don't make any headway because they need tanks to be able to punch through this German line. So they wait for the tanks to show up, end up pushing in on January 25th. On January 26th, Audie Murphy and the other 2 officers in his platoon are all hit with enemy mortar fire. The other 2 officers are killed, and Audie Murphy is peppered from his waist down. Being the only surviving officer, he refuses evacuation, and he is now acting commander of the entire company. He leads his company to right outside the town of Holtzwihr, where they get ready to launch an attack. They are staged up right along this wood line. It's a wood line, a dirt road, then a big open field with the town off in the distance. From here, they start staging up, getting ready to make this attack, but they can't do it yet because they're waiting for reinforcements to show up because they need more men. And while that's going on, everybody is just freezing their ass off. It's January, they're living outside, there's snow all over the ground, dudes are getting up, walking around, just trying to stay warm. It sucks. Murphy's got his infantry, and then he also has 2 M10 tank destroyers, so that morning he starts maneuvering them into the right position to be able to support this attack, and then more time goes on, dudes are walking around trying to stay warm, everybody's just biding their time, and by 2 o'clock, 6 German tanks come rolling up towards their position with 250 infantry Germans behind them. Murphy immediately calls for artillery, but the German artillery gets there first, striking one of the M10 tank destroyers, killing 2 crew members, and setting it on fire. The other M10 tank destroyers firing at the German tanks, and it's hitting them, but it's not enough to penetrate the German armor, and the shells are just ricocheting off. At this point, he knows they're fucked. There's nothing they can do to these German tanks, so he orders all of his men to fall back into the wood line, as well as the other M10 tank destroyer. While everybody scrambles, Audie Murphy grabs his field telephone, runs over to the first M10 tank destroyer, the one that's on fire, climbs on top of it, pulls the dead lieutenant out of the hatch, sets him aside as he mans a 50 caliber machine gun and his field telephone on top. He begins strafing the German advance with 50 caliber machine gun fire. They're about 200 yards away, while he's also operating the field telephone, calling in for more artillery. As it's getting closer and closer, artillery asks how close they are to his position, and he famously replies, "Just hold the phone, I'll let you talk to the bastards."
I know it's not the right time to laugh, but see, he's quick and he's witty as well. He is just an absolute force of nature. Oh my gosh.
While that's going on, the other M10 tank destroyer trying to back up ends up backing up into a ditch, getting stuck with the gun at a useless angle, so now that's out too. So now it is just Murphy standing on top of a flaming M10 tank destroyer that could blow up at any minute if the fuel or the ammunition ignites.
What happened? I don't know, it just didn't explode. That's weird.
And Audie Murphy is up there engaging the enemy by himself for over an hour. He said the only thing that he was aware of at the time was that the smoke billowing out of the M10 he was standing on was providing a good smoke screen, and that this was the first time in 3 days that his feet were warm. You gotta look for the silver linings. Now during the course of the 60-minute battle, his M10 tank destroyer gets struck by German shells 2 more times, and somehow it still doesn't blow up, but he does take a ton of shrapnel into one of his legs.
Huh? I really thought that one was gonna explode.
But Audie Murphy doesn't quit, so he just keeps standing on top of a flaming tank destroyer, engaging the enemy by himself, and eventually the Germans had sent 12 infantry troops down an irrigation ditch that was near his M10, and they jumped out attempting to flank him from 10 yards away. He catches them just in time, swings the 50 cal over, and eliminates all 12 German infantry. As he runs out of ammunition for the 50 cal, he calls in the final artillery barrage in on his position as he jumps down off the M10 with a wounded leg and runs back into the tree line and starts reorganizing his men to launch a counterattack. As he's running away, the M10 finally blows up because the fuel or the ammunition ignited right before the artillery barrage hits.
That's what it's
So lucky.
Oh shit, that was crazy.
Okay, could you imagine being one of this guy's soldiers? You just watched him fight 250 dudes and 6 tanks by himself
For over an
fucking
hour.
hour with no commercials, and then as he runs out of ammo and jumps off the flaming tank, it
Then it
blows
explodes.
up as he's walking towards you.
Cool guys don't look at
I mean, yeah.
they blow things up and then whoa.
But it's very lucky.
Needless to say, everybody was pretty pumped to follow that motherfucker into battle. They launch a counterattack and push the Germans all the way back. After the Germans start retreating, he finally stops in the middle of the field for medical assistance, but still refuses to get evacuated.
I could do this all day.
For this, he was awarded the Medal of Honor with the citation crediting him with approximately 50 kills. However, the eyewitness accounts of the men that were there that day said that between his 50 caliber fire and the artillery strikes that he was calling in, it was in excess of 100.
Guten
In
Tag.
the following days in the Colmar pocket, the German lines are starting to collapse. Things are starting to move a lot faster. When they're coming up on German units, they're just starting to surrender. So as Audie Murphy and his company are advancing, they end up coming up on some Germans that are exhausted. They don't even put up a fight. They're just like, fucking, we give up. Whatever.
Yeah,
They surrender. And as they're starting to, take away their weapons, get everything sorted out, 3 German tanks pull out of the wood line across the field with a bunch of infantry behind them.
You gotta be shitting me.
And at this
The
point, I can
losing
only assume
battle.
Audie Murphy's like, I can't do this shit again. I already played this level. I don't want to play it again. As the tanks start advancing towards them, they turn onto the road. They're not spotted yet, but they're gonna be in a second. And Audie Murphy's like, if one of these Germans yells something in German, or if they see us, we're completely fucked. What do we do? And he very quickly grabs one of the Germans' helmets and puts it on his head and has his men do the same. They throw the Germans down on the ground, point their guns at him, basically saying, shut the fuck up, as they wave to the tanks as they roll down the road.
Just smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave.
And luckily for the Germans, it worked. I have no idea how he would have pulled a win out of that situation, but at this point, I'm fairly confident he would have, because let's face it, the man's the main character.
He's indestructible. Guten Tag.
By February
Goodbye.
8th, 1945, the Colmar pocket collapses completely, and Audie and his men are sent to Paris for some R&R. While there, Audie Murphy is informed that he will be receiving the Medal of Honor and not be going back into frontline combat because he's the most decorated soldier of World War II at this point, and they can't risk losing him. So for the rest of the war, he's going to serve as the liaison officer for the battalion.
How
Basically,
did he
they're
feel
giving him
about
a
that?
bullshit job trying to keep him safe and out of combat. He knows that, and he hates it the entire time. And it still does not stop him that every time he hears his company's having an issue, he takes his Jeep to the front lines under the pretenses of, I'm gonna go check the lines to investigate stuff as the liaison guy, and then he goes out there and leads his men in combat anyways. And that's pretty much what goes on until World War II comes to an end. After that, he had a big ceremony where he was formally awarded the Medal of Honor. From there, he goes back home and there is an enormous parade. He's a national celebrity. He's on the cover of Time magazine.
Oh, I'm gonna go back. Watch this. Watch this.
Enormous parade. He's a national celebrity.
That cheeky little baby face. He's a handsome guy, isn't he?
celebrity. He's on the
Bless
cover
him
of
with
Time
the nurses.
magazine. Everybody knows who he is. He is the most decorated man of World War II. And to be completely honest, he doesn't really care for it. He doesn't think that he's anything special. He doesn't like being a star. He doesn't like all the fame. He just kind of wants to be a normal guy. And that's
Wants to
partially
get
just because
home.
of who he is as a person, but also because for the rest of his life, he suffers from survivor's guilt and severe PTSD. Despite that, when he's offered the opportunity to act in Hollywood in a bunch of Western movies and to star in his own film about his exploits in World War II, he takes the job not because he wants to be rich and famous, but because he needs the money to take care of his siblings. And when he gets that first big check, the first thing he does is he goes to his older sister, who is now a married woman with kids of her own, and says, look, I will buy you and your husband this big, nice house if you're willing to adopt our 5 younger siblings and raise them as your own. And she takes him up on that offer, and he does exactly that. From here, Audie continues to get more rich and more famous. He's in all kinds of movies. His movie To Hell and Back was one of the most popular movies of its time. And despite that, he still suffers from this survival guilt and PTSD. It ends up ruining his marriage. He has to take pills just so he can sleep at night. He sleeps with a gun under his pillow. It leads to a gambling addiction. It's rough, and at this point in time, nobody really recognized PTSD, and there wasn't much help, if any help, that he could get.
I can't imagine what it would be like going through trauma, absolute trauma like that, fighting. I cannot imagine. But what's even worse is that you're talking about a point in history where, like Nick said, it wasn't recognized as being a mental health issue. It wasn't recognized as anything other than shell shock. At least they, at least they gave it a name, I suppose. But I imagine there wouldn't have been the support that is available to our soldiers, ex-soldiers today. I'm not surprised. Oh, I just can't imagine. I can't imagine at all.
But Audie Murphy doesn't quit, so he did what is, in my opinion, the coolest and potentially the bravest thing that he did in his entire life. He spoke out about it and he told the truth. He spoke out about the fact that he struggled with PTSD and criticized the government for not providing veterans that came back home with help after the war. Which I can't stress to you enough is incredible, because he easily could have said, nope, never lost an ounce of sleep in my entire life.
Yeah,
I'm the biggest
fine.
badass on the planet. Everybody should look up to me. I'm literally Captain America. But he didn't. He told the truth. He told everybody what his struggles were. And in doing so, he not only brought attention to the fact that this is an issue that needs to get worked on, but he also made it okay for everybody else to talk about it. Because now, if Audie Murphy, the most decorated man of World War II, one of the biggest badasses of all time, can come out and say, hey, I struggle with this too, there's no shame in anybody else saying that they struggle with it also.
An advocate for mental health all those years ago, without even realizing that's what he's doing. He's just doing what he feels is right, and he's an honest person, isn't he? He's just speaking the truth that so many other young men and young women, I imagine, from the time as well, have gone through, and are criticizing a government for not doing enough after all those years that these soldiers have served in the military and served their country, and they're returning home just expected to get on with normal lives. And what's normal about it after you've seen some of the things that you've had to experience, all the fighting that... And this man was doing this all these years ago. It's absolutely amazing. He's ahead of his time, isn't he, really?
Fortunately, Audie Murphy would pass away fairly young at the age of 46 in 1971. The pilot of the plane that he was on was not qualified to be flying that particular aircraft, and he was also not qualified to be flying in the inclement weather that they were experiencing that day on May 28th. And because of that, the plane would ultimately crash, killing everyone on board. Audie Murphy's death was sudden and tragic, and due to his fame and notoriety in the world, a lot of people speculated with conspiracy theories that he was either assassinated by the mob, because later in life he was a confidential FBI informant due to his Hollywood connections and his connections related to his gambling addiction. Other people also speculated that he was silenced by the United States government for being one of the first big people to speak out about PTSD. I don't...
Addressing a problem, would that really put you on the government's radar as a troublemaker, though? I don't know. I would need a little bit more convincing. Again, I need a little bit more convincing as well, because it appears to me, and obviously I don't know his entire life story. I don't know that much about the man, but it doesn't seem like, from what I've heard, that he's got a tendency to gamble. I mean, a risk taker maybe, but he seems like quite a sensible man that wouldn't, you know, he's got his head screwed on. He understands the value of money and what it can do. He understands what it means to have to hunt for your next meal and knowing the difference between, you know, if you shoot that rabbit, you're going to eat. If you miss it, you can't afford the other bullet and you're going to go hungry. It seems, unless maybe a little bit of fame and money has changed him dramatically, it doesn't seem like I would say he's somebody that I would have down as a gambler and a debtor. Just someone who's in an awful lot of debt from gambling. Do you know what I mean? Doesn't really seem like it fits his, from what I think I can gather about like his personality, but we don't know, do we?
Necessarily believe either of those, but they were popular conspiracy theories at the time, and if you research into it, you'll find them. Audie Murphy is buried in Arlington National Cemetery, and he's the second most visited grave there behind JFK. Allegedly, Audie Murphy's family was given the opportunity to have Audie buried with a monument or a tomb in Arlington National Cemetery near the tomb of the unknown soldier, but they declined. They were then offered for him to have a gold leaf inlay in his tombstone because he was a Medal of Honor recipient, which they also declined. Because his family knew that Audie Murphy would have wanted a normal grave, just like everybody else. Thank you for watching. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch over to fatelectrician.com. Quack bang, out.
Quack bang, out.
All that without a super serum, being 5'4", 110 pounds, okay? This is why you need to be nice to everybody, because you have no idea who you're fucking with.
The little ones still pack a punch. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Nick has just reminded all of us. And he did all of this without that serum. Captain America had the serum. Ah, but he didn't, did he? Audie didn't have that serum. It's all him. I think that's, do you know what I mean? Hearing things like his family declined the gold leaf inlay and all, you know, all this since his death, because they believed that's not what he would have wanted, because he would have just, he wouldn't want special treatment. If his family knows he's so much of a genuine person and that's his nature, I find it really hard to believe some of those conspiracy theories. I don't know. I'm sure there are some viewers out there that can educate me on these theories, so do let me know, because I'm sure some of them are very interesting, and I'm sure a few of these theories probably have good grounds and facts to back them up. But there we are. What an amazing person. And, you know, I like hearing stories about the shorties. All good things come in small packages. Absolutely. What a man. Oh my gosh. Audie Murphy. What an absolute legend. Guys, I hope you enjoyed watching that along with me. I do. I think it's just the worst thing that we don't hear more. We're not taught about these figures in history in school. It is a travesty. You still say, I know we say this every single episode, but it's such a big thing for me. Like, we should be taught all about these heroes, and they should never, ever, ever be forgotten, and their contribution should never, ever be forgotten. So thank you, Nick, for regaling us with these stories and informing us and educating us about these absolute heroes, these legends. Thank you. So guys, take care of yourselves for now. Much love, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.